Madam Kate was a 35-year-old woman who lived in a big house in the city. She was always active on social media, sharing pictures of her beautiful home, fancy clothes, and expensive food. Many people online admired her and wanted to be like her. Madam Kate seemed kind and friendly, so people trusted her. One day Madam Kate got an idea. She decided to invite 18-year-old girls from the internet to her house. She told them about her soft bed and cozy room. She promised that they would have a relaxing time and even get a big surprise when they left. Her offer sounded too good to refuse. Many girls were curious about Madam Kate's offer. She sent them private messages saying, "Come to my house, lay on my bed, close your eyes, and I will give you something special." Some girls thought it was strange, but others trusted Madam Kate because she looked rich and kind in her pictures. The first girl to visit Madam Kate's house was Emma. Emma had just turned 18 and wanted to experience something exciting. When Emma arrived, Madam Kate greeted her warmly and showed her around the house. "You have a beautiful smile," Madam Kate said. "You will love it here." Madam Kate led Emma to a big, soft bed and asked her to lay down and close her eyes. Emma felt a little nervous, but Madam Kate's calm voice made her feel safe. After a few minutes, Madam Kate said, "You can open your eyes now." When Emma sat up, Madam Kate handed her an envelope full of money. "This is for you," Madam Kate said with a smile. Emma was surprised and happy. She didn't understand why Madam Kate gave her so much money, but she left the house feeling lucky. More girls visited Madam Kate's house after Emma. Each time Madam Kate followed the same routine. She invited the girls to lay on her bed, asked them to close their eyes, and gave them money when they were leaving. Some of the girls felt strange about the experience, but they didn't tell anyone because they liked the money. One day, a girl named Mia received a message from Madam Kate. Mia was a smart and careful 18-year-old. She didn't trust people easily. When she read Madam Kate's message, she felt suspicious. Why would someone give money to strangers for doing nothing? Mia decided to do some research before visiting Madam Kate's house. Mia checked Madam Kate's profile carefully. She noticed that most of Madam Kate's posts were about her house and money, but there were no pictures of friends or family. Mia also found comments from other girls saying, "Thank you for the gift," and it was strange but nice. Mia felt that something was wrong. Instead of going to Madam Kate's house, Mia reported her to the online safety team. She also told her teacher about Madam Kate's strange messages. The teacher thanked Mia for speaking up and contacted the police. The police started an investigation. They found out that Madam Kate had been luring girls to her house for a long time. She gave them money to keep them quiet, but her actions were not normal or safe. The police talked to the girls who had visited Madam Kate's house. Some of them admitted that they felt uncomfortable but didn't know how to refuse the money. Madam Kate was no ordinary woman. She had friends in high places, including some members of the local police force. When the investigation began, Madam Kate was quick to learn about it. She contacted her police connections, slipping them gifts and cash to ensure they turned a blind eye to her activities. "You know me," Madam Kate said during a quiet meeting with an officer she had known for years. "These girls just need a little help. I'm not doing anything wrong. Surely we can keep this from becoming something it's not." The officer hesitated but eventually agreed to protect her, reporting back to the investigating team that there was no evidence of wrongdoing. Madam Kate knew the importance of maintaining her online persona, so she doubled down on her social media posts, sharing pictures of herself donating to charities and organizing events for underprivileged youth. This made her appear even more generous and trustworthy to her growing audience. Despite her attempts to clean up her image, Mia wasn't convinced. She had a strong gut feeling that there was more to Madam Kate's story. After seeing that the investigation had seemingly stalled, Mia decided to take matters into her own hands. Mia started reaching out to the girls who had visited Madam Kate, using anonymous accounts to gain their trust. One by one they began opening up. "She gave me money but it felt weird," one girl admitted. Another said, "She asked strange questions about my family and my personal life." Mia collected their accounts and began piecing together a pattern. Madam Kate seemed to be targeting girls who were vulnerable or in difficult circumstances, exploiting their needs in subtle ways. Together they devised a plan. Clara encouraged Mia to pose as a girl interested in Madam Kate's offer, but with a hidden microphone and camera. Reluctantly, Mia agreed, knowing it was the only way to expose Madam Kate's true intentions. When Mia arrived at the house, Madam Kate greeted her warmly as she had with the others. "You're even more beautiful in person," Madam Kate said with a smile. She led Mia to the same soft bed and asked her to lay down and close her eyes. But this time Mia was prepared. She followed Madam Kate's instructions while recording everything. As Madam Kate handed Mia an envelope of money, she whispered something chilling. "You'll never tell anyone about this, will you?" Mia kept her composure, shook her head and left the house with the evidence she needed. As Mia left Madam Kate's house with the evidence she needed, she couldn't shake off the feeling that she was being watched. Madam Kate, always a step ahead, had grown suspicious of Mia. She had noticed Mia's slightly nervous demeanor and subtle glances around the room. As soon as Mia walked out the door, Madam Kate made a call. "Follow her," she instructed one of her thugs. "Make sure she doesn't get far." Meanwhile, back at the police station, Detective Clara waited anxiously for Mia to return with the recording. But Mia never arrived. On her way to the station, a black van screeched to a halt beside her. Before she could react, two masked men grabbed her and forced her inside. Mia woke up in a dimly lit room tied to a chair. Madam Kate stood before her, her friendly smile replaced with a cold, menacing glare. "I knew there was something off about you," Madam Kate said, pacing the room. "You thought you could outsmart me? Do you know how many girls have tried to speak out? None of them succeeded." Mia stayed silent, her mind racing as she tried to think of a way out. At the same time, Clara realized something was wrong. She tracked Mia's last known location using a GPS device Mia had hidden in her phone case. It led her to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Clara immediately called for backup but knew she couldn't wait. Mia's life could be in danger. Back at Madam Kate's house, the sinister woman was already moving forward with her new plan. She realized she couldn't trust the girls she invited anymore. To ensure their silence, she began offering them a strange, sweet-tasting drink as soon as they arrived. "It's a special herbal tea," Madam Kate said with a smile, handing the drink to a new girl named Lily. "It will help you relax." The tea, laced with a memory-wiping substance Madam Kate had obtained through her connections, left the girls in a foggy state. They couldn't recall what happened after they drank it, waking up hours later with an envelope of money but no memory of their visit. But Madam Kate underestimated Mia's resilience and Clara's determination. Clara infiltrated the warehouse where Mia was being held. She found Mia just as Madam Kate's thugs were preparing to move her to another location. Clara fought them off, her quick thinking and police training giving her the upper hand. As Clara freed Mia, they heard footsteps echoing through the warehouse. Madam Kate appeared, flanked by more of her men. "You're a clever girl, Detective," Madam Kate said, her tone icy. "But you're in over your head." Clara smirked. "Am I?" Madam Kate's smirk deepened as she signaled to her men. Before Clara could react, one of them swung a heavy object, knocking the detective's gun from her hand. Another grabbed Mia, pulling her away as Clara struggled to fend off the remaining attackers. Despite her training, Clara was outnumbered and overpowered. "Take her," Madam Kate commanded, pointing to Clara. Clara was restrained and dragged into another room. Mia screamed, trying to break free, but Madam Kate's thugs were too strong. "You're brave, Detective," Madam Kate said, stepping into the room where Clara was tied to a chair. "But bravery doesn't win against power. You should have stayed out of my way." Madam Kate held up a glass of her special herbal tea, the memory-wiping substance swirling inside. "You'll drink this and all your little plans will disappear. You won't even remember your own name, let alone your investigation." Clara glared at Madam Kate, her jaw tight. "You won't get away with this," she said. Madam Kate chuckled. "That's what they all say." Meanwhile, Mia was being held in another part of the warehouse. Her hands were bound, but she remembered the small pocket knife she always carried, hidden in her shoe. Carefully, she worked to free herself, listening for any sounds that could guide her next move. Back in the room, Madam Kate's men held Clara's head back, forcing her to open her mouth. Madam Kate poured the drink down her throat. Clara choked and sputtered, but the liquid went down. "Good girl," Madam Kate cooed mockingly. "Now let's see how much you remember in an hour." Madam Kate ordered her men to take Clara to another location while she returned to her house to continue her schemes. As they carried Clara away, Mia finally managed to free herself. She crept through the warehouse, avoiding the thugs, and spotted Clara being loaded into a van. Thinking quickly, Mia grabbed a metal pipe from the ground and created a loud noise near the warehouse's entrance, drawing the men's attention. While they went to investigate, Mia sneaked to the van and found Clara slumped inside, already looking disoriented. "Clara," Mia whispered, shaking her. Clara blinked, her eyes unfocused. Who are you?" she murmured. Mia felt a pang of fear but stayed calm. "It's me, Mia. You're a detective. You were here to save me, remember?" Clara looked at her blankly, but something about Mia's voice seemed to reach her. Mia climbed into the van and hot-wired it, her heart pounding. Just as the thugs realized what was happening, Mia floored the gas pedal, speeding away with Clara. Once they were safe, Mia called the police station and explained the situation to a trusted officer who wasn't part of Madame Kate's corrupt network. The officer advised her to take Clara to a hospital immediately. At the hospital, doctors examined Clara and administered an antidote to counter the effects of the memory-wiping substance. It would take time, but they assured Mia that Clara's memories would likely return. Mia didn't stop there. Using the information Clara had shared with her earlier, she contacted an investigative journalist willing to expose Madame Kate's crimes. The journalist published a damning report, including the recordings Mia had taken and accounts from other victims. The public outcry was immediate and pressure mounted on law enforcement to act. Madame Kate's network of corruption began to crumble as more people came forward with evidence. Madame Kate watched the news coverage with mounting fury as her name and face were plastered across every channel. The evidence Mia had collected, along with the accounts of other victims, was irrefutable. Even her powerful connections were starting to distance themselves to avoid being implicated. Realizing her empire was crumbling, Madame Kate decided she had only one option left: escape. She called her trusted pilot and ordered her private jet to be ready within the hour. In her luxurious home, Madame Kate packed a small suitcase filled with cash, fake identification and precious jewelry. Her plan was simple: disappear to a country with no extradition agreement and start anew. As her thugs secured the perimeter of the house, she made one last call to a loyal associate. "Ensure everything is destroyed," she said coldly. "I don't want anything left behind that could tie me to this." The associate obeyed, setting fire to the warehouse that had been the center of her schemes. Documents, substances, and anything incriminating went up in flames. By the time the police arrived at her estate, Madame Kate was already on her way to the private airstrip in a heavily tinted car. She sat in the back seat, composed despite the chaos surrounding her. "They'll never catch me," she murmured to herself, a faint smirk on her lips. Mia and Clara, now recovering her memory piece by piece, received a tip about Madame Kate's escape plan. Clara immediately contacted her trusted allies in law enforcement, urging them to act swiftly. "We need to block her escape route," Clara said. Mia chimed in, "She'll head for the airstrip. It's her fastest way out." A team of officers sped toward the private airstrip, lights flashing. Clara and Mia joined the pursuit, determined to stop Madame Kate before she could leave. At the airstrip, Madame Kate's jet was fueled and ready for takeoff. She stepped out of the car and onto the tarmac, her heels clicking confidently against the pavement. "Madame Kate," her pilot greeted her, "will be in the air in 10 minutes. "Make it 5, she replied sharply. But as she climbed the stairs to the jet, a convoy of police cars roared into view. The sound of screeching tires and shouting officers echoed through the night. "Stop right there," Clara shouted, leading the charge. Madame Kate paused at the top of the stairs, turning to face them. She raised her hands slowly, her expression calm but calculating. "You're too late," she said with a sly smile. "By the time you sort this out, I'll be long gone." Her pilot, however, hesitated under the pressure of the armed officers surrounding the jet. Clara seized the moment, climbing the stairs to confront Madame Kate directly. "You can't run from this," Clara said. "Your network is gone, your empire is in ruins, and we have everything we need to put you away for life." Madame Kate's smirk faltered, but only for a moment. "You think this is the end? You have no idea what I'm capable of." Clara ignored the taunt and signaled the officers to arrest Madame Kate. She was handcuffed and led down the stairs, her escape plan foiled. With Madame Kate in custody, the full extent of her crimes was uncovered. The memory-wiping substance, the manipulation of vulnerable girls, and her network of corruption were laid bare in court. Clara, fully recovered, received commendations for her bravery, while Mia was celebrated for her pivotal role in exposing the truth. Together they ensured Madame Kate's reign of terror was over. As Madame Kate was led away to serve a life sentence, her last words to Clara echoed in her mind. This isn't over. But Clara knew better. Madame Kate's empire was no match for the resilience of those who stood up against her. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more stories like this.